Hey, all you Knuckleheads, we're talking Canucks today. Stick around. Welcome back to the Super Design Bowl. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Aaron.
All right.
Mark.
Yeah, just another greasy guy from Cleveland to fill in for Aaron today.
Yeah, Aaron is on his world tour right now, I think. His post-COVID vaccine world tour. He's just visiting all the places now that he has the vaccine.
First stop, Luxembourg. That sounds great.
Yeah, just making babies all over the world right now. Sorry about that. Hey, Mark, but thank you. Thank you for filling in and helping me here. If you are not familiar with Mark, Mark is one of the designers behind Sorry Designs.
Yeah, probably. We'll go with Sorry for short. That makes it easy. Nice and easy. You'll be able to find us online if you type in Sorry. But
if you just type in Sorry, they're the first thing that'll pop up on Google.
Justin Bieber, then us.
Yeah,
but I like it that way. That's the way I prefer being ranked in general. Second Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Speaking of Sorry, Mark, we're talking about the Canucks, and the Canadians are known for their sorries.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. So today we're going to be talking to Ben Didier. I hope I pronounced that right. We'll find out.
That's probably pretty close.
Yeah. And Nick from To the Moon Studios. So let's bring them on right now. What's up, fellas?
Not much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So did I pronounce your name right, Ben?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Wow.
I accept most pronunciations, except anything with an L. There's so many vertical lines in there.
Where would you stick the L? Where would you stick the L?
I'm not going to say it because I don't want it repeated, but stick the L anywhere you want. And
careful. Are you from Canada then? Is that where you hail from?
Yeah. I grew up on Vancouver Island, so I'm living in Vancouver for the last 20 years.
Okay, so this Canucks idea was probably your idea.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So what's your?
I'm not sure how Nick got roped into it.
Here in Nebraska, hockey's huge.
I guess geographically, we're one of your closer teams.
Yeah,
you can just take your pick of anything.
So, what's your situation there, Ben, in Canada?
Long-suffering Canucks fan, pretty much.
Yeah. But as far as graphic design goes, are you working for yourself these days, or are you?
I've been freelance exclusively for about 5 years, and then before that, I was in-house at CBC. So I was actually working at CBC when they lost the broadcast rights to the NHL. So that was an interesting transition.
That's the Canadian broadcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, we're American. We don't know anything about Canada.
Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah. One of the OG broadcasts.
Yeah.
So wow. So this is sort of a dream project for you, perhaps.
No, it's fun. It's I guess more just a fun little thing on the side. Obviously, it's not something. I think actually through this process, I gained a lot of respect for the difficulties of branding a sports team.
Yeah.
It's not like I assumed it would be easy, but you do realize how much goes into it along the way. That you maybe it's easy to criticize from the outside, but then once you're actually in it, you're like, this is a little tricky.
People love nothing more than to criticize sports logos.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
It's worse than even being a quarterback. And Nick, I see your giant fist. Did you just freeze? Oh boy, let's go back to Ben. Nick is gone. Oh, there's Nick. Can you hear us, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of a delay from you.
Can you hear me?
So you're in Nebraska. Whereabouts in Nebraska do you hail from, Nick?
Yes. Yep. Right in the middle.
Are you a Cornhusker fan?
Lincoln. Yep. Cornhusker through and through. Live. Yep.
Yeah. Do you miss the big
hardcore fan for sure?
Oh, really? So do you miss the Big 12?
Yeah, the Big Ten definitely kicked us in the pants a little bit. I'll tell you that much. It was definitely an eye opener for sure. I knew going into it, I didn't want to become like the Iowa State or the Kansas State of what the Big Ten, what the Big Ten or Big 12 was for us, and it just we're going through some rebuilding years and stuff like that. But it's good to see Scott back up on board, back on board and everything, and so yeah, it's rebuilding, and you just got to go with them, support them when they're up and support them when they're down. So it's just
At what point?
A lot around here is that.
Yeah. At what point do you say it's not rebuilding? Because you've been rebuilding for 10 years now, and so maybe it's just is what it is.
Well, if I want to pull the Back to the Future reference, the timeline skewed when we brought Bill Callahan on, and I think we probably should have kept Frank for a little bit longer and kind of see because he's been doing really good in Ohio, and I think we should have rode Frank's coattails for a little bit longer before he kind of went off onto that little tangent. So I mean that's kind of a pain sore subject to talk about those years. So.
Listen,
yeah, we had
I'm a Mizzou fan.
River here for a little while, and so
yeah, I'm a Mizzou fan.
Okay.
So, I wish I was we were back in the Big 12 as well. I'm not a huge fan of the SEC, to be honest. It's just I don't know. Culturally,
yeah, my boy Eric Kratz ran some pretty good yardage on you.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk Canucks here, guys.
I was going to say, Ben, I don't know about
yeah,
you.
I don't even know what sport you're talking about right now.
I'm
football.
pretty much lost here when it comes to collegiate sports. So
yeah, it's kind of a mystery to every Canadian white college sports. It's so huge down there.
It's
I'm American and I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Let's talk about Canucks though for a second. The Canucks is interesting. First of all, the Canuck is I did a little research on the word Canuck.
This is after you did the intro.
Started in the 1800s, right? And but people really don't know exactly where it derives from, which is interesting. And it's sort of like the name Hoosiers, like in Indiana. So I think it can be used derogatorily, or it can be used in a friendly manner. Ben, being Canadian, how do you feel about the word Canuck?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a different perspective. You guys are probably the ones making fun of us, so it's up to us to make it a compliment. But I've never heard of it as a real derogatory thing. My understanding was always like it's kind of like Uncle Sam, like Johnny Canuck was like a personification of Canada for political cartoons, and then became a lumberjack somewhere along the way, which is probably appropriate for the West Coast.
That's appropriate. You had two choices, lumberjack or Mountie.
Yeah. We went with the right one.
But so like in Indiana, they're Hoosiers, right? But if you're in Missouri and you call someone a Hoosier, it's an insult.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah. So
it all we have that with Yank as well. As soon as you hit the Mason-Dixon, if someone calls you a Yank,
right.
They might be looking at you funny, but
yeah, that's so interesting. So I pulled up sort of the history of the Canucks logos.
Yeah,
and I was kind of blown away by the history and how interesting it is, and how much it's really taken some left turns. Like each revision is sort of a real left turn from where it was before.
Yeah.
And the Johnny Canuck, if I got that right.
Yeah.
He's I love it. I love Johnny up here.
Is he a folk hero then? Is that the idea behind Johnny Canuck?
I don't think he's like a Paul Bunyan guy. I mean, outside of the Vancouver Canucks now, nobody's heard of him. It's not a popular thing at all.
He's their mascot.
Strictly hockey.
Yeah. I mean, this is my limited repertoire. I'm by no means an expert, but yeah, folk hero would be a stretch.
Okay.
Well, I like this. I think
it's fantastic.
It's getting a little close to swastika land, but I prefer it over this one because this just has way more forward movement. This one looks like he is slipping on a banana.
Yeah.
In the second one.
Going up a glacier. maybe.
Perhaps.
That one's pre-NHL, the 50s one.
Yeah. I dig it. I might just spend an afternoon re-vectorizing this. Be really cool. Which they've done actually in their new uniforms. He's on patches and stuff like that.
Just the head, I think, though, it looks weird because it's sitting in a V.
Yeah, the head is weird in the V.
Yeah, it's just awkward. They're trying to shoehorn too many things together.
Yeah. And then in 1970, they get this really 70s logo. And I was doing some research on this, and it's like a big funky C. Do you see that? Am I crazy? Right? I'm not making that up, right? And but apparently it's supposed to be a hockey rink.
Yep. It's called the Stick and Rink logo.
It's called the Stick and Rink. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like,
very creative.
Like a move. That sounds like a move you used to put on your high school girlfriend, the Stick and Rink. It's cool. And it kind of, if you put an eyeball right here, it would kind of look like a big whale too.
Mm-hmm.
Nick might be coming back. I think his internet was shit. Welcome back, Nick. We're just talking old logos here. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say it's a great abstraction to see there. I'm very into that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I would like just as a circle. Like, do we really have to force feed the rink shape into it?
Mm.
I don't know. Like, let's just do a hockey puck with the stick across it. Whatever. And then in '78, what's going on here?
They got weird.
That is like, that's the folk hero. That logo right there.
This one is?
That is beloved.
Really?
I mean, a big part of it is like, that was the Beret years. So second cup run, but like it was 94 is just, that's when I fell in love with the team. So it's just a nostalgic logo for everybody. But that's the one you're most likely to see, I think, as like the throwback.
The throwback, yeah.
They still wear the Stick and Rink. Like they have a new version of that they wear as a jersey.
I saw they had they have a patch. They like wear a patch on their shoulder sometimes.
Yeah.
And then we go here. What can you tell me about this? The sort of indigenous inspired.
Yeah, so it's problematic, especially in this day and age with the long overdue conversation around cultural appropriation. The connection to the orca is tenuous at best. Basically, the owner of the team was American, and their company was called Orca Bay. And so the logo ended up referencing the company name over the team name. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. I mean, if you're going to pick a West Coast animal mascot, I mean, the orca is a good way to go.
So,
the connection to the team.
The Seattle Seahawks, their logo is indigenous inspired. And nobody is offended by that.
I wouldn't say nobody. I'm sure you can find somebody. Right?
We're dealing with teams like the Indians and the Redskins.
Which is obviously long overdue to put those ones together.
Which is beyond the pale.
So I think, just the question comes up, like a really good example this year actually is Braden Holtby's the backup goalie. Well, kind of 1A, 1B goalie, but now is the backup. And so he had a new mask design when he joined the team. And he has like a Swedish mask designer. He does a lot of the crazy goalie masks in the NHL.
Yeah.
And they just completely ripped off West Coast indigenous art. And so as soon as some process shots were posted online, there was a firestorm, and rightly so, that this is just like complete cultural appropriation.
But is it a cultural appropriation?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No, but I mean, but I'm saying from an artist standpoint, I don't know. I have a hard time buying. I have a hard time. Listen, I could be completely wrong about this, but like when I'm inspired by art, I'm picking from every culture, every era, every. I get inspired by Japanese art. I get inspired by, everything.
I think
I think if you had an exhibit of Japanese art, people would probably raise an eyebrow. Like it's. As a white man, it's not really necessarily your place to, take from a long history and make it yours and profit off it. I think that's what it really boils down to, is you're profiting off it.
Yeah.
But anyway, to finish that though, the Holtby mask, he went back to the drawing board and they ended up collaborating with a Coast Salish artist, Luke Marston. And the current mask he's wearing now, Luke designed the sides and hand painted it. I mean, it's incredible. And now he's got renown, right? So you're bringing spotlight to that artist who might not have had that exposure previous, and he's able to raise his profile and share part of his culture on a platform that's, you know, built on respect instead of theft.
Sure.
So,
But do you see this orca as being theft?
no, I think it's definitely inspired by Indigenous art, and I think where the conversation is changing is trying to create those inroads with the community, which, you know, is obviously, you know, a long-suffering community under colonialism. So I think it's important to amplify voices within that community, celebrate the art in a way that those artists can profit from their work and share it. The thing is too, a lot of these animals are really sacred in their culture, and they're deeply embedded with a bunch of myths and stories that are like, you know, part of essentially the religion, right? So to just offhandedly, you know, throw an orca here or this there, you're kind of jumbling all of that up. And there's a way to do it correctly and incorrectly. And when you're just kind of trampling all over it without asking, chances are you're going to do it incorrectly.
That's really interesting. Hold on one second here. Oh, let's go. You know what? You know, one website I don't actually reference that much on the show because I don't think Chris Creamer likes the show for some reason. I don't know. So, but everyone go to sportslogo.net. It's the best resource for sports logo archives in the world. But kind of just looking through their collection of branding stuff, they've got the here's that thing you talked about, the head, the floating head in the V,
decapitated head.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
But I gotta tell you, man, these 80s yellow jerseys,
Flying V,
are fucking,
infamous,
are fucking awesome.
Yeah, you'd be one of the few people that think so.
I mean, maybe it looks terrible on the ice, but it's a kind. I like it.
Yeah, you know, it's just so out of left field. Like nothing else was looking like that at the time.
Yeah.
Or since, to be honest. They were just widely ridiculed. I mean, it wasn't a good time for the team.
It wasn't a good time for the team.
But yeah, it's a bold statement for sure.
So I wonder why they went. So it's really interesting to me why they would go to a yellow, red, black for 12 years in the 80s and 90s, and then go back to their OG blue and greens. Do you know of any sort of history or story behind that?
Miami Vice.
The red, blue, and green obviously there's like colors of the West Coast, but the firm I think that did the Flying V and the Flying Skate logo that went with it is from San Francisco. So they didn't really have any of that local knowledge or whatever. They were just trying to do something that made a statement.
Yeah.
And totally worked. Personally, I love the black jersey. I think it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's sharp.
Yeah, especially on the white ice.
I like this version of the logo in sort of a retro liking, but it's also kind of ugly. But maybe you have different feelings about it, Ben, because you grew up with it.
Yeah, it's impossible to separate nostalgia from something like that. Because when you do break it down, it's like it's a mess, right?
Yeah.
It's a mess. But it's a little bit.
And as soon as you start changing one element, it just completely falls apart.
It's like nightclub hockey. Is what you're seeing right now.
You know what? I think nightclub hockey is a perfect description of it, Mark. And I think that is actually a perfect description of like the era of, you know, in that sort of 80s, late 70s disco era when this was created.
Yeah. It's also the end of goon hockey. So, you know.
The what?
Goon hockey.
Goon hockey?
I mean, sometimes you just go to games to watch people beat each other up. The 80s were the end of that area, in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Versace actually ripped this logo off for a sweatshirt design.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really bizarre. You can Google it. And they basically it's no longer a hockey skate, but yeah, it's just a complete ripoff of this logo.
Maybe it's just inspired by.
There's nothing inspired by this logo.
Yeah. So let's check out your matchup. Let's talk about where we're at now. This was the closest matchup we've ever had on the Super Design Bowl. It was a 2-point win for Nick. Can you believe that? So that means, unfortunately, Ben, you lost. So what were you thinking?
It's in Canucks. Like a Canucks fan cannot win anything. So I'm keeping with the long-standing tradition of losing by very narrow margins.
So let's talk me through your. Let's hear your thought process on this one.
Yeah, I mean, really pretty quick design. It came together pretty quick. You mentioned how you wanted to kind of get away from the rink shape with the C in the original logo. I basically tried to keep an element of, as a challenge, keep an element of every era of the Canucks logos. So the C as the border, and then the current Orca, and then the lines in the background are kind of reminiscent of the flying skate. So.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Just trying to bring it all together. Yeah.
In your process, are you a sketch on paper on pencil kind of guy? Are you
Yeah, in the early stages for sure. I'm sketching out. I always laugh when people share that in the early process stuff, because mine just look like garbage. Like it's just it's as loose and rough as possible. Like the minute it starts to look good is when you scan it and start going digital. So
when I was a young buck, not an old asshole now, my sketches were really tight because I didn't understand how I was going to go from A to B to C, right? Like I really had to work things out in my sketches. But now my sketches are really, really thumbnail-y awful because I have a better understanding of, okay, I know how to do this, So my sketches can be just shit.
I had to get away with working in nice sketchbooks because I was too precious about my early sketches, because it was just like this nice bound book and it felt like archival. So now I just use scrap paper, and it's way
That's
better.
one of my pet peeves. What do you think, Mark? Like when people have they have these like fancy sketchbooks and every spread is a fucking like work of art.
This is actually scrap paper from your studio that I used to sketch on. So that's generally my feeling about that.
Yeah, I can't really get behind it. I mean, they're beautiful and I understand it, but a sketchbook for me is something where I can just work out my designs. We're moving studios right now, and I had about 30 sketchbooks, and I just tossed them. I was like, I don't need these thumbnails anymore. The history books are not going to be interested in my thumbnails. So Ben, back to your logo. If I could give it a critique, it doesn't feel very what you might consider aggressive or sporty. Not that that's a good or bad thing, but that's obviously something that you must have considered. So what was your sort of, because if you look at the Canucks logo now, he's got a grimace, right? Or you see so many sports logos, they've like, this is a whale. This is not a whale holding a hockey stick.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of that like aggressive sort of posturing in logos. One of my favorite logos in the NHL is the older Penguins logo, and he looks so friendly, and he's wearing a scarf, and it just looks like he's going to come up and pat you on the head. It's a great logo.
He's gonna put that puck top shelf though. He's all business.
No trash talk in between them.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So how upset were you when I think you were winning till like the last couple days? Did that how did it affect you, or did you just like forget that you did this? I'm just always curious about, because I'm in a challenge right now and I'm checking it like every hour.
I'm not particularly competitive, so I had no real desire to win or lose this. It was just fun to be in the race.
That's awesome. So what kind of challenges did you feel like you I think you mentioned that, because you're not really a sports logo designer.
No. Yeah.
Right. So, and you said it kind of gave you a little bit of a new appreciation for people that actually do it for a living. So because if I look at your work and I look at your portfolio, this actually looks different than your other work, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't. So I felt like maybe you were trying to work in a sandbox that you weren't used to working in. Am I making too many assumptions there?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. I do a lot of illustration as well. So
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is outside of any sort of comfort level. I think maybe aesthetically it would be different, obviously, but
yeah, I think
that's part of why it's fun, right? Like if it was just doing the things I do all day, I wouldn't have necessarily jumped at the opportunity. So
yeah, totally. I don't even know, where's the orca's eye on an orca?
So that big white dot, it's basically to the bottom of that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I would have to look at some orca reference. Like how much did you have to play with that, with the shapes and the balance and to get it all right, or did it kind of just come together pretty quickly?
It came together pretty quick. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've drawn enough orcas in my day. I used to want to be a marine biologist when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
This comes out of the memory bank.
I think I've never drawn an orca in my life. Mark, how many orcas have you drawn?
Since I first saw Free Willy, I'd say it's not been very many now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
First saw Free Willy. Does that imply that you've seen it multiple times?
Oh yeah, well it's Free Willy, and then it's Free Willy 2, and then Free Willy the Reckoning, and series goes on.
Free Willy goes to New York.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, it was a really interesting design, and this was such an interesting challenge because Nick, let's go to yours. Congratulations on your win. And hopefully your internet is working a little bit better now, and we can.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
You sound good now. So,
okay.
Before I ask you about this, I thought this design was really interesting and completely unique to anything that we have on the site, which was cool. Obviously, you kind of were inspired by the old rink and stick and rink. Did I get that right, Ben?
Perfect. Nailed it.
Stick and rink logo with the color choices and sort of it kind of has a 70s minimalist design to it. Maybe I don't have the era right. But to me, you've got the V for Vancouver. You got the C for Canucks. This is supposed to represent a puck because it's black, and this is also a hockey stick. Am I missing any of the symbolism in this one?
You nailed it. Yep, that's exactly what I was trying to achieve in the simplest way possible, and still look good. So, yeah,
I'm glad you indulged me and let me kind of guess everything before you could explain your process. But let me hear how your process. Let me hear what the steps you went through for this logo.
Yeah. So basically, what I did was I did a little research on the past logos, what had been used before, and all that stuff, and out there. And I definitely fell in love with that hockey stick rink one, that blue and green one.
Yeah.
I like the negative shape. I like the simplicity of it. That's kind of like my MO, my go-to, why I design, why I've been doing stuff. And that's kind of like my kind of bread and butter in what I do.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what it was is doing all the research and then putting side by side all the past ones, the current one, and just kind of seeing the symbolism behind everything. I was just like, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board, and I'm gonna try to keep. It's not the whole term "keep it simple, stupid" is like I wanted to kind of go back to something that looks good on a hat, looks good on a jersey, looks good like on a lapel pin. All those different sizes, executions. But gets kind of gets the whole team the team across, and I sketched out a few ideas, and this one really flew to the top. There's like seven to eight of them that I sketched out or vectored out after I sketched. Yeah. This one just kept on floating to the top for me because the other ones just didn't really communicate like what I was wanting to have, that quick connection. But then I incorporated the C, the V, the hockey stick, and the hockey puck, and threw some shapes together, rounded those bad corners, and it was one that I felt like there was going to be like the champ. I felt good about it, and the symbolism behind it and everything. I just like I said, I am stress tested. I put on some like jerseys and some hats and stuff like that, which I usually do for some of my clients and stuff, and. I just felt like this was like more of a stronger Marc, in my opinion. So,
yeah, this is goes back to logo 101 that like this would work at any size. This passes the t-shirt test, right? Because it can work as a one color, basically as a unique symbol. What do you think, Marc?
So I was just thinking, have you ever seen a container on the back of a truck and been like, oh man, I want that container. Like I want. You mean the logo on the container? No, the whole thing. Sometimes it's the palette, sometimes it's the logo.
Marc, you're speaking my language. Container logos are like my bread and butter. I love looking at all those logos. Yes.
You see it on a train in the distance. You're like, that is a great container. Yeah. In the best way. This is an amazing container logo.
I feel like graphic. You could see this on a train car that was passing.
On the Ever Given would have one of these just
Ever Given
propped up there.
Pivot.
Yeah.
That's funny. Do you feel that it kind of has like an on power button symbol feel to it? Is that just is it just me?
That was kind of like in the back of my mind when I kept on looking at it. It kind of did have like that power button look to it. So that's why I tried. I stressed it a little bit, like putting the puck in there, the hockey stick and everything. But I think it kind of separated itself far enough away from there, especially like with the colors and stuff. But yeah, it did cross my mind a couple times. Yeah.
Did you ever think about putting the puck here?
I did. The reason why I put it up there is just like when I, the roundness of the C, you kind of lose the curvature once it reaches that, I guess that apex or the top of the logo. So putting it down there, it started, cutting. Started cutting down. So I'm all about looking at like the straight edges, the corners, and all that stuff, and the harmoniousness of all the shapes and within the logo. And yes, I did think about putting it down there, and it just didn't feel right. And plus, like the bottom of the C, like the puck didn't really, like when you look at a puck from the top, it's a perfect circle. When you look from the side, it's a fairly decent rectangle. So I wanted to stay true to somewhat of a, a shape of a hockey puck. I know it's not exactly, it's pretty thick and it's not round, but it's more of the profile.
Nick, I'm curious. I had a conversation with someone earlier about this, and I told them that I saw a whale in it, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And we haven't brought it up yet. So I want to know, like, did you intend for there to be a whale in there?
A whale inside the logo?
Yeah. Okay. So hear me out. The green bit is the backbone. The blue bit is the jaw, and then the black dot is the eye. I thought it was just like super abstracted, and I was like,
I am not seeing that.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I got the vaccine yesterday, so maybe I'm just hallucinating.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna look at this one a little bit harder.
It's like a magic eye. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of see a sea monkey in the negative space.
Consider it more of a trout. I think you'll see it if you think of it as a trout and less of a whale, maybe.
That's fantastic. If someone saw that, that's totally awesome. But no, I guess I didn't really intend for that for sure. But that's awesome. But
let's say the team. I'm going to ask this for both you guys, both your designs. How would you incorporate typography with these? Like if you needed a version that said Vancouver Canucks, how would you? I mean, I think obviously the roundel is the easiest application for both of these because we have the luxury of just making for this stupid website for making just making an image and letting it go, but obviously, if you had to do this in the real world, you'd have to find 50 different applications and different ways to write it. If it was baseball, you'd have to have a version that said San Francisco and a version that said the Giants. You know what I mean? Like, did you think about how this could have legs and live in through all the design bits that you have to do for a team?
Not me. I just made a fun little mark. You didn't pay me enough to build out a brand guide.
What do you mean? I didn't pay you enough. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's part two.
The money wasn't there, so
yeah.
I did actually throw some typography on there. I actually did the arcing of it, like actually follow this the curvature of the C and stuff. I played with some tall fonts, short fonts. I think what I ultimately came up with was more of a block type and stacking it underneath of it, because I don't know, when you start curving words underneath, above, and all that sort of stuff, I don't know, you start losing a little bit of the readability. And I think I like having a little bit of a connection between the logo and the type itself. So I did throw a couple, text options out there too. But I was thinking more like underneath of it, stacking it for sure.
Well, I'd love to say, I want to, but not just thank you guys for participating in this, because I really do appreciate it. But also I really want to thank you guys for bringing two ideas that weren't sports branding like typicals. Right. So a lot of times I'm trying to get some new ideas into the sports branding stuff. And I really like these because it's like, maybe I'm wrong. You tell me what you think, Mark, but these are not typical, like, something you see with dimensional type and
absolutely. I am of the thought process that the weirder it is, probably the better it is. All of my favorite sports logos are pretty weird, Pittsburgh Penguins. There's nothing else like that,
Yeah.
So yeah.
How do you think that, and I think I know the answer to this question already, but do you guys think that the general sports public, they obviously don't think about logos like we think about logos. So they probably think about, if it doesn't have a typical sports branding look to their logo, that it's really not going to be accepted. Like, do you think that maybe in some sports, like maybe MLS or something like that, they're more open to radical design to some degree? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think MLS too, like the logo is such a small element of their look, the jerseys, it's usually just a patch, right?
Yeah.
And it's easier to kind of get away with something maybe off the beaten path.
I guess the NHL does. They do them like they do huge sort of emblems. I never really thought about that. That would be interesting to have an NHL team to just do a soccer patch style jersey. Has anyone done that?
I guess the closest would be your Flying V, right? The one that you liked.
I do like that. I'm gonna ask.
And that did not go over well.
Really? I'm gonna ask my. So that means I could probably go on eBay and find a vintage V sweater that looks just like that.
Oh, definitely.
I'm totally gonna do that. Well, thank you so much, guys. This was a really interesting challenge, and it really came down to the wire. I had no idea who was going to win, and I appreciate Nick. Thank you for sending me that.
Probably should have voted for me instead of Nick, and I might have actually had a tie out of this one.
I was going to say,
and I voted for Ben. So I mean,
no, it all worked out. Well, I was going to say thanks Nick, for the PayPal that I was able to give you those 4 extra votes there right at the end.
Anything that can help my chances, I kept on checking that every day, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's coming down to the wire. I was like,
really
wow.
is. It really did come down to the wire. I mean, it's awesome that your grandma had like 7 accounts that she registered.
Yeah, it helps having a big family. You call the aunts and the uncles and everything like that. So. No, but I mean, and I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties up front. I do apologize,
but that's quite all right.
I just want to say that Ben did a really good job. I like it. I know
absolutely.
You guys probably talked about it and everything like that, but Ben, you did an awesome job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
likewise.
so
I love it too because I followed the same process that Billy had of picking out all the things you were referencing, but I was convinced there was something I was missing. And every time I looked at it, I went back and I was like, what is it? And I knew as soon as I saw it, it was just going to hit me over the head. But that's a good logo, right? It kept intriguing me. It kept me coming back.
That was cool. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that was one thing too. Is just I think in your instructions, it was just one design, one thing, no concepts, no mood board or anything like that. It was just you had to kind of just narrow it down, put your best horse out there and let it off to the races. And yeah, it was definitely a fun. I liked the challenge. That was a lot of fun to really kind of bring it focus on home. So. But no, you did a great job, Ben. I like that orca. It's awesome. I like the lines and the shapes and everything. And so, bravo.
Cheers, appreciate it. Likewise.
Yeah, I like this detail that you did. Really, I love how this line continues into this line. That's just one little detail I like. I'm not sure why I just mentioned that, but I like that.
Yeah, it's totally Fibonacci. It's all based on Fibonacci.
Yeah.
It's got hidden meanings and stuff like that.
Totally.
Each line represents a loss in the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Wow, this goes deep.
That's meta. That's good.
You should have put a tier right there.
Yeah, it's implied. What do you think the ocean's made of? Salted for a reason.
Orchid tears.
Orchid tears.
Oh my god.
Canadian tears.
Oh my gosh.
So Ben, tell the world where they can follow you or find your work or hire you.
Yeah, my website's prettyugly.ca, and pretty much all the links are there.
Yeah, I will, and I will have links in the show's description for everybody here. And Nick?
Yeah, my site is tothemoonstudios.com. That's kind of what I go underneath or what I go by, freelance name and everything. So you can see the majority of my work out there and contact and all that good jazz. So,
are you going to start following the Canucks now for the season? Are you
That's a bit late. Maybe start next year.
Yeah, next year.
I was just going to say, I might give it a little while.
Yeah. That's funny. I never checked these records when I designed their logo.
I've been a big Avs fan. I'm just going to say, I definitely was Colorado Avalanche fan for sure.
We call them the Quebec Nordiques up here. It's another source of pain. Stealing our fucking teams.
Didn't mean to bring that up. I was just like Patrick Waugh.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right.
And,
cheers. Thanks for having us.
Stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
See you guys.